USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. And with me right now, I've got a very special guest. He has worked for the AWA as well as numerous other promotions. Pleased to welcome the one and only illustrious Jonnie Stewart. Welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Beautiful day here in the North Shore of Chicago, and I'm tickled to death to be with you.
All righty. So you're from Chicago originally?
Yeah, I was born and raised the far northwest side of Chicago, which kind of buttressed all of the suburbs, or a lot of the suburbs, right by O'Hare Airport. Very nice upper middle class area. Because the illustrious one wouldn't be raised in any other area. No, I'm kidding. I had like a lot of people in the wrestling business, it seems like, or the entertainment industry. I had a great childhood. I had great parents. I'm not saying it was perfect, but I had a really, really nice, typical Americana childhood where 30 kids around the block. We stayed out from 8 in the morning till the street lights came on. It was magical. And, you know, to live in a neighborhood now where all of my neighbors make huge money, but their children are never outside on the street because they have nannies and stuff like that. There's a glaring, I'll finish up here. There's a glaring, stark reality that I had a very blessed childhood.
And it seems like there's a lot of chock full of wrestling history around Chicago and the Midwest area as well. So getting the chance to watch a variety of different promotions and products during that time, who were some of your favorites growing up to watch? Yeah,
that's a great point. And I try and stress this with every wrestling interview. I don't do a lot of these, by the way, obviously. But that I had the unique experience too of my childhood and young adult years of being a kid of the TV generation. I got hooked, like we all did, even though we played outside nonstop. I got hooked, and the wrestling show that we watched in Chicago was Dick the Bruiser's wrestling show from Indianapolis, which was horrible, but at times energetic and dramatic. They always left you hanging at 11:57 as they were going off air. This is Sam Edeker. Time limit, as much as with the time of TV time they'll let us. So there was cliffhangers every Sunday morning, which looking back I really enjoyed. And as I got into high school, being obsessed with pro wrestling and wanting to do it for a living, then the Von Erichs TV came into Chicago. Vern Gagne's TV came after Dick the Bruiser on Sunday, and Ted Turner's, world class or WCW or NWA, the Crockett's came on Saturday afternoon right after the Von Erich. So when people say, Jesus, John, we never knew you were that much of a historian and how much you know about old time wrestling. And I'm going to tell you something, from Saturday afternoon to Sunday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I had 5 hours of pro wrestling and really got to watch some of the best in the business as far as minds and theory and matches and whatnot. What was good, what wasn't, what worked, what didn't. My friends and I would dissect each television program. So I was a student, really, when I started in Memphis with Jerry Lawler at my 19th birthday. I was really a student of the game and could dialogue with a lot of the older guys about the business, whether it be Buddy Landell, Bill Dundee, Billy Travis, Jerry Lawler, so on and so forth. So I had some acceptance there because I knew a lot about the wrestling business, and was just, again, hate to keep saying it, but really blessed for the experience that I had.
Did you have a certain favorite growing up or favorite wrestlers that you enjoyed watching?
Yeah, Hulk Hogan changed my life. I tell this to everyone, and everyone that says he wasn't the greatest in the business. Did you see him live in person in the mid 80s? Did you? I ask people this. Well, no. Okay, shh, quiet, because you don't know what you're. Hulk Hogan came out into an arena. My body vibrated. It was like a religious moment. That's how much charisma that he had. So Hogan made me just like immerse myself in the wrestling business. I gravitated to the Road Warriors because they were on. I loved Gino Hernandez. My friends and I thought Bobby Heenan comedically, not laughing at him, but laughing with him. I've had this conversation with Jim Cornette. I didn't laugh at Bobby Heenan. The fans didn't laugh at him, but when he got his comeuppance, right? Mm-hmm. When he got it stuck up when he got it stuck to him by Wally Carble or Vern Gagne, we laughed. When he got attacked finally in the ring by Vachon or
the payoffs.
Or the payoff. There you go. I have COVID brain. Thank you. When the payoff happened to Bobby Heenan, was the greatest moment in sports, in our opinion. And I saw live Bockwinkel and Lawler, so I gravitated towards how realistic a match could look. But as I told everyone, and as Larry Zbyszko called me the $5 Ric Flair made me want to get into the business and emulate him and be Ric Flair. When my mother was a very classy woman, golfed 4 times a week and was a housewife and was the life of the party, was the nicest woman in the world. And when she walked into our living room one day, when Ric Flair had the off-white sport jacket and the light blue shirt and the red kerchief with the Porsche Carreras, and she went, "Who in the hell is that? Wow." Your mother giving the stamp of approval on Ric Flair, that was it. I was going to be Ric Flair, whether I made $4 or $4 million. I was going to be Ric Flair.
What was it about Ric Flair to you that made you go, man, I want to get into this business?
Okay, I can already tell this is going to be a great interview because you're asking good questions, and I mean that sincerely. Thank you for asking me that. That very few people have ever asked me that. So I grew up. What your viewers need to know, in the 70s and 80s, pro wrestlers came on TV. I'm just being honest. That's why you had me on. You want me to be honest, with the Kmart band-waisted shirts on, with blue jeans. They didn't have a style. Fashion sense wasn't a style. Even Nick Bockwinkel had, clothes that were very classy, but were dated. They were from the late 70s with the big lapels, although he looked like $1 million. And that was his gimmick, actually. When I saw Gino Hernandez and Tully Blanchard, and then when Ric Flair came out and he had a real Rolex and the Porsche Carreras and the alligator shoes, and I would ask my dad, are alligator shoes expensive and how much is a Rolex? I went, oh my God, finally, him and Gino Hernandez, finally guys are getting style sense and are really cool as far as wardrobe, which mattered to me being the kid in the mid '80s, and the way he talked, and the smack that he talked. I just had to be him. He had my. I was Ric Flair in high school. I wanted to drive the nice car. My dad was a car dealer. I wanted to dress nice. And he had everything that I wanted to emulate. And I can't explain all of it, but it was just, I had to be Ric Flair. But he was the
Yeah.
coolest guy in the world.
Yeah, and don't forget those shades that he would wear too when he was
I had
cutting
him.
promos.
I had him in '87. I had Porsche Carrera sunglasses, and everyone made fun of me because I look like a 20-year-old kid in college shouldn't be wearing $300 sunglasses in the mid '80s. But I did because I had to be Ric Flair. So
You got your start at 19.
yes, yeah. So this is another interesting thing which I love sharing because not many wrestlers talk about this to the fans. And I'm here because not that I was headline 12 WrestleManias. I'm here because I think I can tell people about an era of the industry that's pretty amazing and cool that not a lot of people talk about. And to get into pro wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, I kid you not. It was easier to get into the Chicago Mafia, the outfit of Chicago, than it was to enter pro wrestling in the 70s or 80s. They didn't advertise wrestling schools. You couldn't get up to pro wrestlers unless you waited at a hotel or in backstage. How do you get backstage? The promoters and the boys were so smart to keep a barrier, right, between them and the fans, which kept the magic, as Jim Cornette talks about. You couldn't touch the ring. When they would let 3 or 4 fans come up and touch the ring before a match, we were so in awe and jealous of those fans to just touch this magical stage, so to speak. So I was in trouble. How do you get into pro wrestling? My dad's not into it. There's none of the wrestlers lived in Chicago like they did in Memphis, Tampa, Minneapolis, right? I mean, so I was in trouble for getting in. My dad hears from a car dealer that sponsors Dick the Bruiser Wrestling on TV. I think there's a school in Memphis. Well, that's all I needed to hear. So I had my football coach. I was a high school standout, recruited by a lot of colleges. I had my high school coach contact one school. It was go broke or go
home or go broke.
Hell or high water. Yeah. So he contacted Memphis State University, which had a terrible Division I football team, but that's okay. I easier to get on the team. And the coach is like, okay, we never heard of Jon Stewart. We don't recruit in Chicago, but anyways. So I get in. My grade point average wasn't high enough because I went to a college prep, very difficult high school, and they invited me as an invited walk-on. If I could make the team my sophomore year as a redshirt, they would give me a scholarship for the next 3 years. Okay. And I'm there 4 months, and talk about manifesting. A fraternity brother sees the Memphis legend Buddy Wayne, not the West Coast Buddy Wayne, the Memphis legend from the 50s, 60s, 70s, Buddy Wayne in the grocery store. He's like, "Sir, I see you on TV, on Jarrett's and Lawler's TV, Channel 5. We've got this crazy guy. He's a football player. He came down here to be a pro wrestler." And Buddy Wayne was like, "Well, that's pretty gripping story. Tell him, here's my phone number. Tell him to call me." So I met Buddy Wayne at a Denny's in Memphis. He wadayed me, questioned me. We talked for 3 hours. It was fascinating to actually be so close to a pro wrestler. I had seen Buddy on TV from going to school at Memphis too. So I was a little awestruck. And a week later, I quit the Memphis football team and started training in Buddy's backyard in the Memphis. This is interesting for people. The Memphis ring, TV ring with the blue canvas and the green water hose ropes. That was a garden hose.
Mm-hmm.
That was the ring I trained in. And stopping here is what got me the somewhat respect of the Memphis guys: Dutch Mantell, Lawler, Jarrett, Buddy Landell, Dundee, Billy Travis, Joe LeDuc. Was that I set up that ring in Buddy's backyard, trained for 2 hours, took the ring down, loaded it in his truck, took it to Memphis TV, loaded it, set it up in the TV studio. They wrestled for Saturday. we took it down and then took it to a spot show. I set it up again, took it back down for the next week, and did this for like 6, 7, 8 weeks. That gave me a tremendous amount of respect with the boys. And on April 23rd, 1986, at the Mid-South, at the Old Miss Coliseum, a 9,000 seat basketball arena, which was, can you imagine having that as your first match? I went over on Buddy Wayne in the opening match, and was off to the races, and spent the summer as one of the Beach Boys tag team working for Lawler and Jarrett.
Yeah, I mean, talk about humble beginnings, getting the opportunity to do that on a weekly basis to kind of like serve as your training while you're prepping for your big debut.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the training process, learning how to wrestle. Were you scared? Were you nervous? Did you feel like you got it down?
Well, that's interesting because, Mick Foley tells a similar story. Doing the routines with my friends in high school for so long. I mean, we screwed around pro wrestling every day. I made them. They weren't that into it. Seeing the 2020 episode where he shows John Stossel how to lock up and stuff. When I got into the ring with Buddy Wayne, he goes, "I want to show you a lockup," and I said, "I know how to do one." And he goes, "What?" I locked up with Buddy Wayne with my hand up in the back of his neck, and he looked at me, he goes, "Okay." So I was adroit at the basics of wrestling, which really, I only trained for 6 weeks, and I had my first match because I got it so quickly. I adapted so quickly. But a little interesting aspect, and I'll stop here, was that Buddy Wayne was trained in the 50s by guys who were trained in the 1930s. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in the way they trained was kind of shoot style with a little bit of work style. And that's it. Spots. There was no spots in the 1930s. So what is awesome, I'm so grateful that I trained like a 1930s wrestler would train. We had these weird techniques of flipping our feet so that when we got Beal thrown into the corner, when we spun around to face our opponent, our feet were still pointed at our opponent. And that took like 7 days to learn that little flip-flop maneuver. And it was amazing. I really am very grateful for the way I was trained, and got smartened up about 3 days before my match with Buddy. It's a work, but it's still, this, that, and the other. And so the training was very hard. He wasn't a monster as far as, oh, you're going to run 10 miles and 8,000 sit-ups. I mean, Buddy could see that I was in shape, that I was tan, that I was, probably had a nicer physique than 70% of the Memphis workers, especially the enhancement guys that look like absolute crap. Go watch a 1986 Memphis TV match. You'll see what I'm talking about. So yeah, it was exciting. My God, when I stepped in the ring the first time, I had an out-of-body experience. It was incredible. So very lucky.
Were there any pieces of advice that Buddy gave you starting out that you recall that you've even applied to today after stepping in the ring?
God, another great question. Buddy was the greatest storyteller in the world. But almost like my father, and this is a little weird, my father was a kind of like, jump out of the rowboat and learn how to swim, with little pieces, little bits of advice. Buddy never told me about the handshake, and because he hated that. He thought that was so stupid and demeaning to the boys. Like, I'm a man, shake my fucking hand like a man, not this little, the little handshake, that's, ladies and gentlemen, we were like tradesmen, was for when someone entered the locker room in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and you never saw him before because the territories, guys were coming in and out left and right. You didn't know if a guy was a worker or not. You would give them the handshake to know, oh, he is a worker. He's smartened up. He's given me the code. And Buddy never taught me that. But Buddy, I sat there, and I will say this story. I sat there with Buddy and watched the Mid-South Coliseum matches from match 1 to match 8 for 7 straight weeks with Buddy next to me in the back, giving me commentary. Why would he do that there? Why in the hell he'd talk like this? John, let me ask you something. Why would Billy Travis blah, 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 when he could have, blah. Does that make any sense? You want to talk about getting your PhD and listening to this and watching and getting this dictation in this commentary from this star veteran was instrumental. And, he just told me about saving money, always dressed like a professional. He said, if I ever see you in blue jeans and a t-shirt, I will knock the shit out of you. Buddy, even though buddies, we had dated wardrobe, he always wore a sports jacket and dress pants. Always, always, always. And he demanded that I dress like a professional too. And just, just watch yourself, watch the business, watch everybody. You're going to have to feel it out yourself. But he gave me the instructions on what to do and what not to do in a match. And to me, that was a $100,000 PhD level course.
Yeah, I mean, those are some incredible life lessons, getting to be able to have somebody take you under their wing and get that knowledge. And so you were a part of this tag team for quite some time. And eventually you started working for the AWA. What was your experience like there?
It was great. I was one of the 4 men hired by Jim Barnett in '89 to go to WCW. Brian Pillman, Johnny Ace, Tom Zink. I was the 4th guy. And Ric Flair rescinded my contract with if you need a rip-off Ric Flair, you don't need the real one. You're going to bring this goof in, with a Ric Flair character. I'm done. And that was a story told me by Jim Barnett, Cornette, All Dangerously, and Eddie Gilbert. And Eddie Gilbert really fought for me. In a 4-year, $150,000 a year verbal contract with Jim Barnett. I should have sued them. They made me drop out of college at the time. I'm not griping. I'm not being sour grapes. I'm just telling you what happened. And when it was rescinded, Vern and Greg heard about this through the grapevine, sent Dale Gagner down to scout me. And the next week I signed a, per night deal, per night deal with Vern and Greg, and worked with them from 89 to 91. And best experience of my life. The AWA was my Chicago Bears. It was our pro wrestling organization in the 80s and 90s for Chicago. So tickled to death to do that, to be on ESPN every Monday. Somebody from around the world literally would call my parents. We see Johnny on TV, on ESPN, which went around globally. Friends of my parents from Australia and Italy, and Poland and Lithuania and all over the country. My parents just thought that was the greatest thing in the world, that everyone was seeing their son, on TV, on ESPN every Monday.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting national exposure. Like you're being seen by thousands of people worldwide. So that has to be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a not adequate, but it was a decent compensation for not getting $150,000 a year. I knew that I was still 21. I had so much time to continue to grow in this business, which happened and didn't happen for a multitude of reasons. And I am unlike most pro wrestlers. I admit all of my faults, and I call myself that, most of my failures in this industry of not making a lot of money are all to blame, really, to me. And you don't hear that a lot from the older generation, but I'd like to break that mold and take accountability and take ownership. But yeah, it was great to just, it just seemed like every I was always getting hired, from Lawler, and then Dick the Bruiser hired me. And then all of a sudden, Windy Sam's this year from Windy City Wrestling recruited me. And I went from there to Sam, and then Jim Barnett and WCW recruited me. I didn't have to make a phone call. And then Vern Gagne hired me, and I didn't have to make a phone call. And so I could see that at the very least, men in the industry, and Vince McMahon wanted me to work for him in '87. And I blew that by not following up with him, my fault. So I'm just simply saying, not bragging, that I could see that men who had power in the industry, when they saw me work live, said, "Oh, we'd love this kid to work for us." And that is a good feeling. And when you see most of the people in this industry, the old timers, not have any money or dead at an early age, to be 58, still married, not hooked on any drugs, relatively healthy, and knowing that I was respected, and I was recruited and wanted by the majority of the people in the business that had power. That's a very nice feeling I carry with me, which is why I'm not bitter at all, like a lot of old time guys. And I am an old timer.
And you've got those memories that you still cherish and you tell your
Oh yeah.
friends about
Oh
that,
yeah. Yeah.
the times you had and the friends you were able to
Yeah.
be around and all the memories that, from your time in the business. So, I mean, it's good for you for being able
Yeah.
to
Thank you. Thank you.
have such an amazing career and look back at it fondly. Now
Yeah.
you got to be in the ring with a lot of different people over the course of
Yeah.
your career. Who have been some of your favorite opponents that you got to wrestle against?
Well, my biggest match probably is against Slaughter on the ESPN main event. So that was probably my biggest match. And Greg and Vern wanted to put Sarge and I around the horn, so to speak, in semi or main event matches to see if that could draw any interest and any, revive something. Which was it was pretty, I was pretty flattered by that. And the fact that I was the last man Sergeant Slaughter wrestled before he went to the WW to wrestle Hulk Hogan for WrestleMania and did that program. But other guys that I wrestled, and I say this a lot, like Baron von Raschke, did we have great matches? Well, as far as the crowd's concerned, yeah. But you'd be on the road for 15, 20 days, and you get to an arena, it's the summer, you're dead tired, you're hot, and you see your name against Baron von Raschke, and it's going to be a night off. It's going to be walk and talk. And, my matches with George the Animal Steel when I started the new AWA Wrestling Superstars with Dale Gagner in front of, 4 or 5, 6,000 people. George and I just tore each house down. Every time we worked together, we were so simpatico. The chicken shit heel versus the monster, Beauty and the Beast type baby face. Other opponents that I loved working. The Honky Tonk Man was great. I got to work the original Midnight Express, which was awesome. And back in Memphis, working with Bill Dundee, Dutch Mantell, Rip Rogers. Legends in the business. It was just amazing. And also got to work a lot. Paul Diamond in the AWA and Greg Gagne, which we had just great matches. Paul and I worked. We were married together. This is what they call it when you work each other day after day. We were married together for the summer of 1989 with Vern. And it was great because you had great matches. You had a guy that got it. He knew I got it, and he knew I would take care of him. He liked me. I liked him. When you have that chemistry, I would akin that to like a Flair and Ricky Steamboat. When you have that type of chemistry, it's great. And few other names, Road Warrior Hawk, Hacksaw Duggan, had great matches with him. I really got to almost wrestle or travel with or room with just about everybody in the wrestling business from 2004, back down. And I'm just really, really, really lucky to just touch and be with these guys that I watched when I was in high school. And I was and to be in a ring with them or on an airplane or in a car or in a locker room, it was mind-boggling. It was like if you were obsessed with the rock and roll business and now you're with Van Halen or, you're with Led Zeppelin or Bon Jovi. It was surreal to be in the ring with Baron von Raschke or to see Baron von Raschke or Dick the Bruiser cut a promo on me on TV. I watched them cut promos on guys 5 years ago. Now it's Jonnie Stewart. They even had a name for me, Jonnie Stewart, and they're cutting a promo, and they've got a little effigy of a weasel, and it was unbelievable. To me, it was unbelievable. Marking out, I did, yes.
I mean, there's no better feeling in the world to be like right across from your heroes, getting the chance to work with them and be a part of something incredible.
Yeah.
Do you keep up with the business at all today?
Oh, those guys. I never watch the business. I click on it. It's just not my thing. It's not my cup of tea. It's too rehearsed. It's too boom, 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 boom. I was the walk and talk days where you got to feel for the crowd. I know that's old school, and I know that's probably not TV friendly. I get that, but this repetitive boom, 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 boom. If I go to a Tom Cruise movie and I see explosions from beginning to end and car chases from beginning to end, and I never see Tom Cruise fall in love, I never see Tom Cruise have a interesting moment with the head of the CIA about any kind of their relationship. It's hard to get into the character. And I was a character driven worker. I was not a pro wrestler. I was a worker, which meant I could talk you into the arena. I took care of my opponents no matter what was wrong with me. I could still get a match out of myself and my opponent and entertain the crowd. That was what I was paid for. No matter what the circumstance, where we were, I was going to entertain that crowd. So when those people went home, they said, "Oh my God, that guy in the feathered sequin robe. Oh my God, he was he made us laugh or whatever." I was a worker, and that was something I was most proud of.
Did you prefer being a baby face or a heel?
Heel all day. I despise being a baby face. I hated it. I probably would have quit the business if promoters would have kept making me a baby face. I absolutely lock, stock, and barrel hated being a baby face. And the guys that were, God bless them, because if I didn't have somebody to beat up, why come to the matches? And if somebody wasn't chasing me or wanting to beat me up, why come? You got to have the road runner and you got to have the coyote. You have to.
Why were you more why'd you prefer being a heel more? What's better about being a heel than it is about being a baby face to you?
I just had this internal obsession and feeling of wanting to stop and wanting to be in control and calling the moment where I would get the comeuppance, or that word that you said before, I would finally get payback. To me, that was orgasmic. It was orgasmic. I am telling you, most wrestlers won't because they want to put themselves over. I am telling you, some of the best moments of my career was putting someone else over and hearing the scream, the Road Warrior, pop, if that's what you want to call it. Some of the best moments of my life. I put DJ Peterson over in the St. Paul Civic Center. It hurt my ears when they screamed so loud, not for me, for DJ, but they screamed loud for DJ because he got over on Jonnie Stewart. I remember once when I put over Vampiro, we had about 5,600 people in Arkansas at the Civic Arena. And when I put him over after beating the shit out of him from pillar to post in a hardcore match, and when he finally went over on this weasel, this cheater, it was incredible. So some of the best moments were putting someone else over and hearing that pop. That to me, that signified that I had done my job. And I just hated being a babyface. I just hated it. I hated it.
Well, you're giving back to the business, being able to help the next generation of talent that's being able to grow, and you're there making sure that they're getting over to that next level.
Right.
And I want to switch gears now and talk about some of the stuff you've done outside of wrestling, being able to help out and give back in the community. So what kinds of things have you done to help others out over the years?
I was always a big guy on Thanksgiving. If I wasn't dating somebody before I was married and I was home, I was a big guy, like offering to go to a soup kitchen. I'm not putting myself over. I'm just being honest with you. My mother raised me with a tremendous amount of empathy, which is probably why I never became a psychopath. And I'm actually being serious, because the wrestling business, the entertainment industry, and I'm telling you the truth, can create a psychopath in the making, or a sociopath, or somebody personality disorder. It is just the nature of the industry. And I had a tremendous amount of empathy. So either I worked at a soup kitchen a couple of times. I would make sandwiches with some of my neighbors in the condo that I lived in before I got married. And later on, when I got married, my wife and I and my children, I always wanted to show my children about it's not all about you. It's about giving back. And, I have the Kardashian girls as daughters, they're 23 and 24, and, they're modern, millennial kids, and it's all about them and, all about that generation. And I hope I've imparted with them that, it's not a bad thing to go to we have a food pantry where I live in Deerfield, Illinois, and it's very robust. And we go there, try and go there once a year to bring stuff, organize camp for it. Donating at the church. I belong to a church which is like 2 blocks from the Home Alone house. I'm giving a plug. And I love that I love that every time I go to church or come back, there's 40 people in front of a house taking pictures because it's the Home Alone house. But this church is very charitable in giving back to organizations, impoverished organizations on the south side and west side of Chicago. We have a huge rummage sale every year that my wife and I work actively in. My parents taught me about showing up in some way, shape, or form. You can't let everybody bake the cakes for the church bake sale. You can't let every other father and mother coach the soccer or baseball team. You've got to participate too. It's important, and it's important to show your kids that there's something more than just yourself and your own ecosystem. And that's one of the things I enjoyed when I ran for politics, especially for governor in 2018 in a campaign. I did not win, but for 18 months, I went around the state of Illinois, listening to people's problems, looking them in their face, telling them that if I got elected as governor, I would do whatever I could to help out their situation, and seeing, oh my God, I'm almost getting a chill right now, seeing their face, their look of, oh my God, politicians listening to me, and the legalization of marijuana, which I was the first candidate in 18 on my website to push, knowing that the law got enacted because I started that fire, and $400 million in tax money is coming back to Illinois, which helps Medicaid programs and insurance for people that can't afford it, and food programs and food pantries. I'm very proud of the work that I did do, and I could do more. I want to do more. It's something that every night I pray to God and my Creator that, I'm living a blessed life. I will always try and give back, and I will hold to that till I am, till I can no longer have breath in my life of just doing something for someone else. It is so powerful, and it gives you a great feeling, and that's not just a cliche. It shows that you are something more than yourself, that you're caring about your neighbor, and you're caring about that kid that you might not have met, or that single mother with 3 kids, they can't feed them properly. To make a little bit of a difference in that is touching.
It is. Now, was there a particular event or thing that you did that was very heartwarming, and something that was just very emotional, that you just recall, that was something you enjoyed doing?
Yeah, when I was campaigning for state representative all the way back in '97, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was on the other street corner. Imagine this, you're in downtown Chicago amongst all these skyscrapers. It was Sunday, freezing out. My wife's on the other corner collecting signatures, and these 2 older Black females, I think they were sisters. They were out of like a Tyler Perry movie, and just jovial, beautiful human beings. And they come up to me and they ask me what I was doing, and I would see them every time I was out there on the corner collecting signatures over the past few weeks. And I ended up taking them to Subway down the street and having lunch with myself, my wife, and them. And they were telling me their issues, and they were crying, and I got emotional. And I will never forget those 2. And when the third time I saw them on the street corner, a nun from the church across the street over her camaraderie ship, and she got involved, and she took their name and numbers and was trying to do some outreach for them. And it might sound like a Pollyanna and a Frank Capra movie, but that is something that I will remember for being charitable or in politics, that I really felt that I had done something. And it was just last week, my wife and I dropped off a little kind of care basket for this homeless person and her son, who are out at the Walgreens that I go to after church every Sunday. And my wife just last week dropped off coloring books, and when you do something like that. And again, I'm not patting myself on the back. It's just you go to the dollar store, you spend $10 and you change somebody's afternoon. When I saw the light in his eyes, like, wow, some adult is not just throwing $1 in my mom's cup, he's actually doing something. It's remarkable. It's the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better feeling than to help someone that's going through a hard time in their life when they're struggling, and you see the faces of them, the people that you're giving to and helping out, and
Yeah.
it just really goes a long way.
My dad was very smart guy, very good businessman, happy guy, not one of those dads that was always pissed off. But my dad said something to me one day. We were in the automobile industry for 45 years. My dad was in it for 50 years. And I would see, and he was, believe me, he didn't do stuff for free. But I saw him so many times do little acts of charity or treating. My dad really, really took care of the guy who sent his 18-year-old daughter in, the Chicago cop whose 20-year-old college daughter is there by herself at our car dealership trying to buy a college car, or a single mother. And I always saw my dad do a little bit extra, go a little extra mile for that person. And I asked him one time, I'm like, you seem to like, I said, you seem to suck up to the, to like, women that need help or young women. And he's like, John, I always think of it as I try and treat somebody like I would want them to treat your sister, my sister. Like if our sister went somewhere or traveled abroad or, did a business transaction. My dad was trying to treat people how he would like people to treat his kids. And that always, always has stuck with me. And I will finish this up with a wrestling true story. One of the things when I worked for WWF in '88, one of the things that still sticks with me today is I saw Vince McMahon at the end of the TV tapings go to every single person, the small guys, the riggers, the lighting guys, the video guys, the ring, everybody that passed Vince McMahon. I watched this with my own two eyes. He said, thank you, thank you, thank you. A sincere thank you, thank you, thank you. I will never, ever forget that about Vince McMahon, how he treated the little people, the workers, so to speak, the blue collar people, everybody got all the jobbers, everyone, if he was in proximity, would get a thank you from Vince McMahon. That changed my life. That really did. And I remember that. And I still remember that in the business world today. I'm still in the automobile industry as a corporate buyer. So any, a driver, a hiker, a ring person, a wipe down person, somebody at the car wash, a detailer, everybody deserved a hello, a pat on the back, a thank you. And I encourage people to remember how Vince McMahon acted in front of me back in '88.
Oh, it just goes a long way, to make a difference in someone's life because you just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know. Why do you feel passionate about giving back to your community?
Well, because it pays benefit. Even I tell people, even if you're selfish, even if you don't care, doing charity, giving back, being a little bit courteous, generous, being the nicer person at times, that pays dividends for you. For you. The psychological studies of people that are philanthropic, for people that donate, that tithe, they call it in the Baptist ministry. Ever since I started, I'm the cheapest guy in the world. Anybody will tell you this. But now I dropped a $5 bill in a Salvation Army kettle. My wife almost passed out. I have, in the past 3 or 4 years, become so charitable, whether it's just giving the change back, keep the change, at church, people on the street, where I normally wouldn't because I was a cheap ass. I have seen dividends in my life financially, and psychologically, it's a proven fact. So even if you're a Scrooge, even if you're a miser, giving back to people, especially financially, does have a financial payback and benefit for you. So it's a win-win. But I have a striking feeling that even this cheap ass, when I did it, the internal feeling I got was incredible. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. I tell everybody this. There's a number of reasons for that, but I think it's a lot to do with I'm no longer focusing on myself. Past 4 or 5 years, I'm focusing on other people, other things. Thinking outside of the realm of Jonnie Stewart. I'm in the entertainment industry. I'm a businessman. I'm the lone wolf. Me, 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 me. The minute I stopped doing that, the minute I started giving back, folks, I'm not coming down here to bullshit you. I mean, I am telling you that my life has changed in numerous ways, and showing other people, like my children, my grown adult children, that philanthropic lifestyle or that type of giving back. I could see a change in them too. They're starting to emulate that, where they were, wouldn't ordinarily. And I encourage everybody to do that, because it pays dividends in every area of your life, and I mean that.
It definitely does. It makes you feel good inside when you're helping
Yeah.
someone else. It
Yeah.
really does. Not just for them, but for you as well. Jonnie, this has been wonderful getting the chance to speak with you. I want to say thank you for coming on to Wrestling with Heart. It means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find more about you?
If people want to ever email me, I love giving out my personal email. I'm really good about answering emails. It's John, Jon, Allen, Alan, and my last name Stewart at AOL.com. And I'm very grateful when people reach out, and I do answer all my emails. I don't have a secretary or a personal assistant, and I'm not on social media, so that's where people can get a hold of me.
All right, well, Jonnie, thanks again, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank you, and thank you to your listeners and viewers. It was an honor talking to you. Thank you for reaching out, and thank you for having me on.
All right, take care.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.